Along with censure and redundantly recriminalizing crimes and the other things that don't come up in the Constitution are political parties. And many of the people who wrote that document had quite a fear of what they called factions getting too much power. Last week, Nancy Pelosi explained that she doesn't back impeachment because she wants to be bipartisan. So here we have a double whammy, two parties controlling the thinking of this woman who is supposed to be leading the representation of the people of the United States of America. We have someone with us here who's not speaking on behalf of and not taking any orders from any party at all. Someone who lost her son, her beautiful son, in a war that was based on blatant lies. Someone who a year ago declared that she would run in opposition to Nancy Pelosi for her seat in California's 8th District because she was not putting impeachment back in our Constitution, and who led, along with Ray McGovern and Reverend Lennox Yearwood and others, a sit-in in John Conyers' office and sat with the congressman and spoke with him at length in very gentle and understanding terms and got absolutely nowhere and went to jail. Someone who I think will have absolutely no problem tomorrow, if permitted to speak, with the restriction on naming the president. Because I have never heard her call him anything other than the lying bastard. Please give every dollar you have. If you haven't gone and given $10, there's a problem. Give everything you can spare to Cindy Sheehan for Congress. Here's Cindy.
It's so great to see everybody here on such a short notice. We, Cindy for Congress, hadn't planned on being here in Washington, D.C. because we're deep into our signature gathering right now, and it's been consuming us to get on the ballot. But in the past couple of weeks, it has just like mushroomed or exploded, and we're down to under 1,400 signatures now. So we will be only the 6th non-partisan declined to state candidate in California to attain ballot status. So anyway, we are doing so well, and we just hired someone else who had been working with Dennis Kucinich. So he stayed in San Francisco and allowed us to be here where I think we really need to be today and tomorrow. Wow. First of all, I'd like to thank Ray McGovern, who he and I have done so much together, and David, of course, and we all met and started working around the Downing Street memo. And Bruce Fine just gives so much credibility to our movement. Credibility, intelligence, knowledge, experience to the impeachment movement. And I was just blown away when I saw him on the Bill Moyer show with John Nichols, another, left-wing progressive that I have worked so hard on the impeachment issue with, and I thought Bruce was way stronger than John was. So anyway, it's just really great to be here with good friends and new faces, and especially Veterans for Peace, who was the first organization to come out for impeachment. And I rode from Dallas, Texas to Crawford the very first day on the Veterans for Peace impeachment bus. And impeachment, I mean, it's not talked about that much, but it was unheard of in August of 2005. And I mean, there was a big controversy that I was on the impeachment bus. And I'm like, oh, well, of course I want George Bush impeached. Don't you? Why don't you? And I not only want him impeached, I want him dragged out of my White House, and I want him thrown in The Hague for war crimes, because not only has he violated our rule of law, law, national law, constitutional law. He has violated international law, and he is clearly a war criminal. It's about time an American president paid for those kinds of crimes. I just flew in from California last night. There's a reason they call it a red eye. And I woke up this morning and read that Conyers has said that tomorrow they can't talk about lies or crimes or mention George Bush or Dick Cheney because it's not an impeachment hearing. Well, I have a solution for that. Make it an impeachment hearing. But there's so many good people here that are really being betrayed by our Democratic leadership in Congress. And they came into power in '06, promising to end the war. Billions of dollars later, thousands of lives later, more destruction, more death. They have not even made one inch of progress in ending the war. We thought, since Jon Conyers, I like Bruce's title for his next book, Constitutional Peril. Jon Conyers, when he was the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee before the Democrats attained majority, wrote a book called Constitution in Crisis. I was in Detroit with him months after he had me arrested in his office, and I was receiving an award from the Cranbrook Peace Institute, and part of my speech was reading the introduction while Jon Conyers was sitting right next to me. And I asked him, what happened between then and now that all of a sudden George Bush is innocent of all the crimes you accused him of? I'm afraid tomorrow's hearing is going to be another dog and pony show, like the Downing Street memo hearings were. I and Ray were two of the four people that testified. Joe Wilson, Ambassador Joe Wilson was another one, and constitutional attorney and expert John Boniface was the other one. I prepared my statement so diligently. I worked really hard. I thought this was a smoking gun. I thought this when in July of '02, British intelligence said that they're going to war whether we like it or not, and they're going to fix the intelligence around the policy. What could be clearer than that? And now, 3 years later, after the Downing Street hearings, and 6 years later after the memo, these people are still committing their crimes. I'm afraid that it's just a dog and pony show to pander to the people who have been working so hard for peace and accountability, the Democratic base, that not only are the elected Congress right now, not only are they abusing and betraying us, but their presidential candidate is abusing and betraying us on peace and on accountability. So they're throwing us a bone, and they expect us to take it like good dogs with a pat on our heads from the master and swallow, once again, their bile. Well, I'm not going to swallow it. I promised my volunteers that I wouldn't get arrested. Well, I said I didn't plan on getting arrested the last time I got arrested. So you never know what's going to happen. But I'm not going to sit there and let them pander to the lowest common denominator of this country. Like Bruce said, we have to rise up. And we have to say, we're not going to take it from you all anymore. In this room, but maybe somebody who will be watching this, that the Democrats and the Republicans are in the pockets of the special interests. That's what runs our country. The corporate lobbyists. The Democrats are in the left pocket, the Republicans are in the right pocket. And that's who they really represent. And unless we elect third-party candidates, independent candidates, and even if you think that Cynthia McKinney or Ralph Nader don't have a chance, You should not throw away your vote on one of the corporate candidates.
Yeah.
You should work very hard for people like Ralph and Cynthia who have never compromised their integrity for a vote or a buck, and that they don't pander to the lowest common denominator in this country, but they call us all to come up to where they are. And that brings me to my candidacy. Like I said before, we have been, the money and the signatures have been pouring into the office, so we have been able to come. This week we passed a milestone of over $250,000 raised for our candidacy, and we haven't even done any fundraising yet. We've been so busy getting our office open, moving to San Francisco, getting into the community, getting our signatures, that we haven't even done any fundraising, and we've raised over $250,000. And for a candidate who is not in any party, doesn't have any party structure, that's incredible. There's one thing that Bruce said that I'm going to have to disagree with, though. He called Pelosi cowardly. Again, I think that's letting them off the hook. So I can't do anything because I'm afraid. No, she's not afraid. She is an accomplice in the Bush crimes. Not only, like Bruce and David have mentioned, the torture. She knew about it in 2002. Like Bruce said, she was fully briefed on what our country was doing. And do you think a Cindy Sheehan congresswoman would be silent about violations of humanity like that? No. The first thing I would do would be to call a press conference and say, this is what your country is doing. And we can't be silent about it. We have to stop it. She, of course, is one of the Democrats in the left pocket of the corporate interests. Our donations have come from about 3,500 people at an average donation of $70. We had a blind man walk in the office yesterday and give us his economic stimulus check of $640. We have homeless people walking in and handing us the change out of their pockets, but then we walk out and they ask for it back. They know that that is a problem that Nancy Pelosi has not and will not address, because she's too busy signing blank checks for war. She's too busy signing blank checks for militarism. She's too busy to see what we see on the streets of San Francisco. They should name a little show about that. On the streets of San Francisco every day. The homeless, the hungry, the sick, the ignorant. She can't see that. She's sitting in her mansion on the hill, and she is too busy handing George Bush everything he wants and more. The first time I was here was in October of '04, and I actually did a press conference here at the National Press Club, because my family and I had participated in something called Real Voices, and we filmed commercials talking about the pain that the Bush administration had caused. And we had a big picture of Casey that has traveled all over the world with me, was at Camp Casey with me in Crawford, Texas. It has been, packed in my suitcase, dragged along everywhere. And so now it's sitting in our office with a picture of George Bush with the dead soldiers comprised, that picture. It's a montage that shows the president, but also a montage of Nancy Pelosi in the same way. Since she's become Speaker of the House, over 1,200 soldiers have died. And that's not even talking about the collateral damage of the Iraqis and Afghans who have died since she has been Speaker of the House. So we do have to challenge the entire system, both pockets. When I was only fighting against the right pocket, George Bush, in the war. I was a hero of many people on the so-called left. But now that I'm challenging the entire system, we have people in San Francisco, mind you, that say, she's too extreme. I would never vote for her. And the way I'm dressed today, this is the way I dressed every day before my son was killed. You know, so I didn't go to work every day in shorts and a t-shirt. That was just the uniform that was forced on me when my son was killed. They say I'm too extreme, when all I'm saying is that we need to bring our troops home from Iraq and Afghanistan to solve that immediate problem, but to solve the problem that caused Iraq and Afghanistan. George Bush and Dick Cheney must be impeached and removed from office. That's one step. Another thing we have to do is reduce military spending. Barack Obama wants to increase it and add troops. That is only for empire building, not defense. Our military must be used only for defense, and we can reduce it by half, and we would still be spending more than all of the countries combined on militarism. We must use the money we save, that we use killing people now and oppressing people all over the world. 1,000 bases is a tiny U.S. empire. We need to close those bases, use that money to pay for universal single-payer health care. Everybody in this country deserves, has the right to housing. And to me, it's unconscionable that we in America have people living on the streets, that millions of children go to bed hungry every night. And this is in America we're talking. We're not talking about the millions around the world. We're talking about our country. Oh my goodness, the minimum wage went up 70 cents today. And it's only going to affect the few people in the country that were still below that level. And they're going to get $28 more a week if they work full time. They can't even fill up their tank or buy a bag of groceries for that money. We need a living wage, not a minimum wage. We need the money that we're wasting on the military-industrial complex to go to cleaning up the environment and to have a sustainable future. We do not need to drill in Anwar offshore. What we need to do is eliminate this country's dependence on fossil fuels. And nobody's talking about that with the leadership. You know, Nancy Pelosi said you're not going to drill off of California, but she doesn't have a plan for alternative sustainable sources of energy. So impeachment is just a remedy for the abuses and the crimes of the Bush regime. But I believe that it will also constrain the hands of a President Obama or a President McCain if they know the people of America are not going to let them get away with their crimes. And the people of America have spoken. They do want this. But our leadership is failing us, like I said before, and they're not listening to us. But if they're not listening to us, that means that we just have to be louder. And please, like David said, support my candidacy because, you know, McCain and Obama aren't going to talk about these issues. And as a matter of fact, how can they talk about the issues when they're about that far apart on any of the issues? And on some of the issues, they could be the same candidate. But I guarantee you, in San Francisco's 8th district, on a national level, we will be discussing these issues. I don't care about Nancy Pelosi's hairdo or facelifts or whatever. What I care about is her lack of leadership, her policies that are colluding with the Bush regime. I don't care if she wears a flag lapel pin What I care about is she is condemning our soldiers and the people of Iraq to die with her blank checks for war. So let's help America understand what we need to understand. And we know our elected officials won't be the leaders, so we have to be the leaders. And I know we all have been working really hard at this. Tomorrow is a baby step, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And if we have to push them and shove them in the right direction, that's what we have to do. So anyway, again, thank you for being here on such short notice, and we'll take questions now, and we'll see you all, I guess, tomorrow at the hearing.